Well, hey everybody, we're finally back with part 3 about the FireFly 7S, which means I finally got the live out cable. One or two problems though. The idea of getting the 7S was to kind of replace my GoPro 4, so I wasn't scared about flying it. £50, £250, you know? So one of the things about mounting in a gimbal is you don't have much space up against this side. Gimbals are all a little bit different about how they attach, but generally they'll push in against this way and you'll have something to keep the lens in, well, keep the camera in, either around the lens or around the camera. So one feature of the live out cable on the GoPro, which typically these little things, is they plug in and the profile's very small, which they have to be because these things have to bump up all the way against the edge, and typically that's good. So that works well. On the 7S, however, and thinking the cable would be even smaller because it's micro USB instead of mini USB, it actually goes in. I thought it was going to be like this. It's actually like this. So you actually end up with that. Well, you can see it sticks out further, but it also takes up all this space. Now, depending how your gimbal looks, it may or may not be very good. Generally speaking, this area needs to be clear so it can bump up right against the side and get secured. Now, this was a problem on my gimbal, and I'll show you why. Here's the GoPro connected to the gimbal, and it's pretty solid. You can see the live out cable here having plenty of room, fits in nicely. This is the thing that holds the camera in, and it's got two thumb screws there. It's really quite secure and it's not going anywhere. The FireFly, however, if we plug the live out cable in, we've got that horrible big gap, and if we then try and push it into the gimbal, you'll see how that USB cable bumps up against the metal end of the gimbal before the camera. So it means it's not on properly, and if we then try and put the lens holder on, it doesn't line up, and so we can't really protect that. There's not really much in there to stop it falling out. This is the only way I could think of securing it. All loads of rubber bands. It's okay, but it's not what we're after really, is it? But we did go with rubber bands and we flew it anyway, and here are the results of that flying. So first thing to point out as we take off here is the reason I've got the time and date stamp in the corner, which I generally don't like. What I'd done is just updated the firmware of the camera, and I changed all my settings back, and I turned it on again, but I'd left the firmware file there, so I updated it again. So I then formatted the card from the camera, and here's the setting I forgot to change. So please ignore that. Anyway, I flew up to the end of the field. I was pretty happy with the stability. Here I am just trying to do an orbit around a tree, and it's been a while since I've flown with a gimbal, and it's very, very different than flying a mini quad. Obviously we're trying to be a lot more gentle and considerate with the sticks. You don't want these big movements. You want everything to be kind of smooth and gentle and look like you mean to do it. So I'm quite liking the looking down ability of the gimbal. So I do a whole lot of flying along, looking downwards. I think that's quite interesting. Now, quality wise, I think it's okay. We've got the sun pretty low in the sky at the moment, so we should actually have pretty good sun from one point of view and then horrible light from another. I don't know if it's me, but I'm perhaps just seeing a little bit of noise on some of the grass, and I don't know what YouTube's going to do to this or if we'll be able to pick it up. And I don't have the GoPro footage to compare with, but it just looks like there's a little bit of noise. At the same time though, the quality is definitely good enough. Now, as with the GoPro and most other HD cameras, if you do poke them in straight in the face of the sun, this happens and you get very bad lighting below. I mean, this is pretty normal. I'm not sure about if I want it in wide mode. I'm occasionally picking up the props on the extreme left and right, it may be worth trying it in the fisheye reduction mode, which obviously just zoom in a little bit more. I think medium is too narrow, but I'll have to try fisheye reduction just to see if it takes care of the other props. Overall though, I'm pretty happy with the quality I'm getting. Like I said, I think there's a little bit of noise, but it's acceptable enough. Now I don't want to dwell on the flying too much because I'm at my normal field and it's pretty boring, so there's not much to see here. But I did pick up another problem, which I can't show you what it looked like at the time because I found out I forgot to put my SD card back in my Fat Sharks. But let me explain further. There's also a secondary problem to this, and that is the fact that you can't stop some of the information being on the live out screen, which was the recording indicator and the amount of time it's been recording. Now they updated the firmware on the FireFly Q6 to take that away, which was great of them, and you'd think the sort of firmware would be common and get into the other cameras. It's not on this one yet. So what I want to do is reach out to the guys at FireFly and ask them if they can do an update on that one. So that's not there. It's a minor problem though. I think this cable's a bigger problem. It's just far too big. I don't know why it's this big. Maybe it's got a voltage regulator in there to stop any spikes coming in. I mean, ironically, I'm not using the 5 volts. I only need the ground and the output. And I can't believe that's any more than 2 connections to a plug. I don't think it would need to go for anything. I haven't opened that up to see what's in it because electronically I'm not great at identifying components. So yeah, I'll have a word and see what I can do. I'm going to look for a better way to attach this and see if the guys from FireFly come back to me with anything. Of course, if that happens, I'll have an update and perhaps some more footage showing a few different modes. Until that time, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.